And welcome to week 11, everyone. It's Thursday Night Football. We're here to tailgate. We're here to have a drink. We're here to cheers. Finally, a good game for Thursday night, right? We've been craving this for weeks and weeks, pretty much the entire season. You also have to excuse my voice. I don't know what's going on. I feel better than I sound, so I apologize if I sound a little raspy, but I'm Bradley Stalder. I'm here to host tonight's Thursday Night Tailgate here on the Player Profiler Network. If you're watching and you're not yet subscribed and you like the content throughout it, don't forget to subscribe if you find this content really helpful for you. I'm going to be here to answer your start-sit questions for Thursday night. So if you have to decide, do I start the players tonight or do I have to wait until Sunday or Monday to start players? This is that type of show where we get those answered for you about a half hour before kickoff. I'm here and I'm bringing some really quality advice. People at Player Profile like Bradley, how did you know Chris Olave would mostly disappoint this year? Because I did. Being bearish on Chris Olave was the way. Now, I can't win everything, right? Tony Pollard is kind of blown up in my face. Calvin Ridley is kind of blown up in my face. But there are some other wins, and you got to take your shots here. But I'm giving some really quality advice. Right now, ranked 25th out of about 200 rankers on the Fantasy Pros Action Rankings contest. I'm bringing you some of the best advice here in the industry. And speaking of great advice, if you like this show, you'll like the Dominator Show even more on Saturday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern here on this channel. I'm joined by Billy Muzio, and we answer your start-sit questions Saturday night, 9 p.m. on Player Profiler channel. Billy has hit 2 top 7 finishes this year in one of the most competitive contests of the season. So Billy and Bradley giving you some dominating fantasy football advice. Check out the Dominator, 9 p.m. Eastern on the channel here. I'm excited to get into it. Finally, as I said at the open, we have a great game. Baltimore hosts the Cincinnati Bengals. The over-under for this game, 46.5. Finally, we get one that's not like 38 for Thursday night. We've got a lot of fantasy relevant and fantasy fringe players for this game. I'm excited to dive into your start-sit questions. So make sure you're putting them in the chat, and I'll look forward to answering them as we go through to the best of my ability, giving you my rankings, giving you my player takes. And sometimes as I'm going through, I'll talk myself into or out of particular players. That's just how this process works. So I think I need to rehydrate, and we'll give a moment. If you want to do a cheers, we can definitely do a cheers as we're going through as part of the tailgate celebration, right? We have a beer while we're tailgating. We're having a good time. This is an enjoyable experience. I'm bringing you some of the best content here in the industry. All right, let's take a look. Ruckus, what's up, B-Rad? That's right, B-Rad. You can be radical this week, this year. Thank you for tuning in, Ruckus. We got a question, though. Kyler or Lamar? And remember, Kyler finishes the quarterback 13 this past week, and he looked close to himself. This is exactly what we wanted to see from Kyler Murray right out of the gate, immediately producing fantasy points. But now we have to worry, like, is a cold streak for Lamar Jackson going to really hurt him? And look, we have to call a spade. Lamar Jackson has finished outside the top 15 of quarterbacks each of the last 3 weeks, but he's also had 3 top 4 finishes on the season. And the last time he played Cincy, 24 of 33, 237 passing yards. He rushed 12 times for 54 yards, and he had 2 touchdowns in the game, 23 fantasy points. You're not going to be upset about that. Not going to be upset about 23 fantasy points. But what's been the problem is that Lamar has not been used as much around the goal line, right? It's been Gus Edwards, it's been Keaton Mitchell, Justice Hill. All 3 of those running backs I expect to be involved in this game, especially because it's a high over-under. Like, any one of those could fall in the end zone. And because each of those players each of those running backs have had success for the Baltimore Ravens, but sometimes multiple running backs in the same game. Lamar Jackson has just fallen on the wrong side of variance. And I think that's what we chalk it up to as well, is just wrong side of variance. We do like that Lamar is still rushing the ball. We like that every game Lamar has had no fewer than 5 carries. As I mentioned in the Cincinnati game previously, 12 carries. But he's only had, he's had single digit carries 3 of the last 4 games. And when you're getting fewer carries than what we expect from Lamar and the passing volume is down a little bit, and therefore the goal line opportunities are not as plentiful, this makes it tough. I do have Lamar ranked ahead of Kyler pretty significantly, but I understand if you're a little worried about the cold streak that Lamar has been on, and it's going to be really hard for me to play Kyler over Lamar in this. Even though you do have McBride, I think McBride is a very, very interesting play for this week. Pulling up my tight end rankings, but right now, Trey McBride is my tight end 6 on the week. Only Kincaid, Laporta, Andrews, Hawkinson, and Kelsey are higher, Ruckus. So I understand why you're asking this question. I'm still going with Lamar Jackson. Should I trade Justin Fields for Sutton? My other quarterback is Murray. Trade Fields for Sutton. Sutton is a flex play if you really need a flex play, but that doesn't move the needle for me. I don't view Sutton as a needle moving receiver. He has gotten more touchdowns this year, which is very nice, and he's been hyper targeted and down the field. I get it, but he's a flex play. I have him as wide receiver 28 this week against Minnesota in a game that, could turn into a little bit of a shootout if Joshua Dobbs, continues his magic. Cortland Sutton, he's been okay this year. He's hit some flex weeks, wide receiver 17 last week. He's finished top 10 just once, though. So we are lacking that elite upside from Cortland Sutton, but a pretty high floor. We've seen wide receiver 26, 32, 15, 21, 8, 37, very much buoyed by the touchdowns. In fact, there have only been 2 games this season where Cortland Sutton has not scored a touchdown. So the swing of variance has swung strongly with Sutton so far. I view him as a flex play, as a high-end wide receiver 3, low-end wide receiver 2. If that's what you need moving forward the rest of season, so be it. But this trade doesn't move the needle for me. Jesse Driscoll, I got Keaton Mitchell, Achane, Hall, and Pollard. Should I take a chance on Mitch or ride with the others? You're going with Achane, Hall, and Pollard over Mitchell. As much as we like what Keaton Mitchell has done in the minimal snaps and minimal rushes so far, his high efficiency, we do like it. Like you can't ignore what he's done. And even Coach Harbaugh, who's generally truthful. If you go to Coach Speak Index, shout out to them. If you go follow them on Twitter, they give you the range of outcomes based on years and years of data crunching from the Coach Speak and how that turns out. Mitchell, I do think, is going to get more work. He was in my running back 40s last week. Now he's in my high 30s. Maybe by the time we end this podcast, I'll talk myself into late 20s, but I'm not getting any higher than that, even though he has finished as the running back 5 and running back 19 each of the last 2 weeks, despite only having 12 carries. It's clear that the Ravens, if you watch the game, you would notice that the Ravens were trying to get Keaton Mitchell involved down the field. Were force feeding him touches. He looked electric when he was getting the 3 carries against the Browns defense that went for 34 yards. He scored a touchdown in those games as well. So that kind of does buoy and inflate his final fantasy numbers. But we can't ignore that the coach wants to involve him more. But I don't think we can. That coach speak does not override what Achane has done. Like Achane, before the injured reserve, finished as a top 5 running back each of those 3 previous weeks. Top 5. Breece Hall, I know that you might be bored with Breece Hall. I don't care. He's still one of the most electric players. And Pollard, we're not getting cute. Pollard has one of the best schedules in the NFL moving forward, and he's got Week 17 shootout potential with the Detroit Lions. So this is not. I want to see Keaton Mitchell eclipse 20% snaps, right? I'd like him to be clearly either the number 2 or number 1 running back on this Baltimore Ravens team before we have the confidence to place him over Achane, Hall, or Pollard. So sorry, I just can't do it. And I don't think it's like in the ranges of outcomes. It's a small chance that this happens, right? So I don't think that this is a good bet if you're making a bet on Mitchell outscoring any one of these 3, much less all 3 of them. Maybe it happens, but it's not a good probability. Okay, Gooner Boy, what's up? And as Ruckus said, smash the like button. Y'all, if you like the content and you found this helpful and you're new, make sure you're subscribing here. Need one to start Jalen Warren, Keaton Mitchell, Godwin, or Deontay. This is full PPR. Wow. Okay, so I'll just give some rankings here, and then we'll talk through these situations. Warren right now is my running back 26. Mitchell, I said, was outside my top 30 for running back. But when it comes to Godwin and Deontay, right, Deontay has he's earned targets, but this past week, massive disappointment against Green Bay. 1 catch, 17 yards on only 4 targets. He finished at the wide receiver 80. He's currently my wide receiver 35, and Godwin is at 33 for me against San Francisco. Now, the interesting thing about San Francisco, if they can create pressure on their front 7, quarterbacks don't stand a chance. But if the offensive line is able to at least hold their own for a little bit, the 49ers secondary has been susceptible this year to big plays. And so that's why Mike Evans, is a top 13, 12-ish wide receiver for me this week. And Godwin I have above Deontay Johnson. I think Warren is the play here based on not only his play, but also that the coaches instilled so much confidence in him. They made him the starter. I don't know if you heard this or if you caught the news, but Jalen Warren was announced as the starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is a big deal. And he's running back 26 for me right now, as of right now, Thursday. Things can shift a little bit, but I don't see that shifting compared to the others. So I still start Warren over Mitchell, but we're getting closer. We're getting warmer. Michael said, should we start Mixon over Kirk and Collins full PPR? Yeah. So I do my rankings in half PPR, but Fantasy Pros does a nice little thing where they rearrange and they put it in PPR. They make adjustments. So Joe Mixon right now, adjusted. Joe Mixon is my 34th flex play. Christian Kirk is my 41st. So we're still going Mixon over Kirk. And then Collins, I have at 45. So we still have Mixon over Collins as well. So we're going with Mixon. Mixon's been getting the volume. As much as we're frustrated by his lack of efficiency, 3.9 yards per carry, right? Over the last few games, 12 for 38 against Seattle, 14 for 37 against Buffalo, 19 for 65 against the LA Rams. If he falls into the end zone, he's almost guaranteed to be a top 12 back, even if he's, the really inefficient player that he is, right? Chris Evans is not coming for his job. Travion Williams is not coming for his job, right? Samaje Perine isn't there anymore. So, I mean, Joe Mixon is the play, even in full PPR. I understand that we like what Christian Kirk has been as a mid-pack wide receiver too, and Nico Collins coming back from the injury. He's expected to play. He missed week 10. Once again, a big Noah Brown game, but we'll see if, in fact, Collins is able to coexist with another big body wide receiver of Noah Brown while Robert Woods is present as well. I'm not convinced. I am moving Collins down a little bit in my rankings, but Joe Mixon, because of the volume, and I know that it is a tough matchup, but he's used in the passing game. That's the thing about Joe Mixon is he also gets a lot of the passing work, 4, 4, 3, 6, 3 targets over the last 5 games. Can't hate that. You get an extra couple points for in half PPR for the receptions. You get about 2, 3 more points for the yards. And, Mixon's giving you a nice little bump up, even with the full PPR. Okay. Brian Robinson or Nico Collins. Yeah, so as I said, I'm assuming PPR here because that's just the rankings that I have pulled up. Collins I have at 45. Brian Robinson is at 42, so I would give the lean to Brian Robinson, but it is pretty close. I understand that. Andy's asking a question, and it's especially relevant for the news today that we got. We got today that Devon Achane is expected to play here in week 11, and all of my fantasy teams are rejoicing. Let me tell you, I drafted too much Devon Achane. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it has been over the past 4 weeks when Achane's been out. So for Achane to return, that is a big, big deal. Where is the cutoff for where to play him? And I'll be able to tell you based on the rankings that I have right now. Devon Achane, I would start him ahead of Raheem Mostert. I mean, if the Miami Dolphins think that he is ready to roll, then he's ready to roll. And if you've been rolling with Raheem Mostert, consider Devon Achane ahead of him, or you can co-play them. That's fine. I think that they both can have a nice little game. Remember the Miami Dolphins take on the Vegas Raiders, and this could be a massive shootout game in Miami. The over-under for this game is 46.5. Achane I have at running back 17. So I would have Montgomery ahead of Achane right now, Brian Robinson, Saquon, DeAndre Swift. But I have Achane ahead of Derrick Henry, ahead of Mostert, ahead of James Conner, ahead of James Cook. Okay. So just giving you some names that you can throw close to it. All right. Nick, take Jake, Tyson, Ty Johnson, or Keaton Mitchell. Yeah, I'm going to go with Keaton Mitchell. And Madison did have a limited practice. If it's Ty Chandler that you're talking about, yeah, that is a dicey move. Because as I said, Keaton Mitchell is probably in my 30 wide receiver or running back 30-ish. That's where I'd have him. So if Madison is active, Ty Chandler goes to virtually 0. Now, as someone who's had a concussion recently, I know that these things are non-linear. Might as well just start Keaton Mitchell and see what swing upside you can get. It could be a 0, but I think the percent chance that Keaton Mitchell gets a 0 for you in this game is lower than the chance that Ty Chandler gets a 0 for you, or close to relatively, essentially a 0. So give me Mitchell if you're worried about Ty Chandler. I'm going to play Lamar. Last thing I want to see is a monster game on my bench. I mean, this is part of the fantasy psychology as well. I get it. I do have the ranking of Lamar significantly ahead of Kyler, but as Ruckus said, Lamar is really due. That's right. Yeah, Keaton Mitchell or Ty Chandler. I'm going Keaton Mitchell. Achane, Waddle, Swift, or Tank Dell. Oof. Okay, so Achane I said was at 17. Swift I have at 11, so I am starting Swift over him. And then Waddle I have as a top, what is it, 12, 13 wide receiver this week. So I think that Waddle is at, Waddle's the top 10. So we're probably going with Swift and Waddle. That's how I'd go with it. Mixon or Rashad White, we're going with Joe Mixon this week. I know we like Rashad White, but I'm not on brand. Like Matt Kelly, he will completely attest to this, that Bradley is the most off-brand player profiler analyst that you'll find. Like I don't stick to the brand sometimes. Sometimes I do. The Quentin Johnson thing, I agree. So yeah, give me Joe Mixon, as gross as that sounds. He's going to get the volume. These games are always like a dog fight, and especially with T. Higgins not being there, Joe Mixon, I expect to continue to get targets, 3 to 5 targets in the backfield. Okay, cool. Would you try and trade Mitchell and Olave if you could get Taylor? I mean, it just depends on what your team is looking like. If that's what it takes, I like what Jonathan Taylor's been doing as of late. He is on bye this week, so that's something to consider, but so is Olave. It depends on what you need. Okay, Purdy or Kyler? That's a pretty close one, actually, as I pull up the quarterback rankings. For some reason, the rankings are taking a little bit, but this is the perfect opportunity to talk to you about our player profiler data analysis tool.
All right, I want to take a moment today to talk to you about data analysis. The data analysis tool, we listen to the users. What do you want? What do you need? And we made it happen. We added popular reports like a fantasy scoring report, air yards report. And if you want to create a new report, but you don't necessarily want to look through every field, we have quick results. Hey, show me the most popular passing data. Show me the most popular rushing data, fantasy data. Done. And the thing just is much faster than it's ever been. And the report builder got a lot easier. I mean, check this out. We break it down into offense, defense. Show me just fantasy data elements. And then when you get results, hey, show me by draft year. Let's take a look at just certain players that played a certain number of snaps or a certain number of games last year. This is the tool that so many of you have been asking for, plus a bunch of dream features that Billy wanted and Cody wanted and I wanted and Dario wanted. So go to the fantasy tools section, click on data analysis, or go to playerprofiler.com/data-analysis.
That's right. Get your data analysis at Player Profiler. It's huge, not only for your DFS, but also if you want to dive into some dynasty trends. Some fantasy analysts and some fantasy players use the data analysis tool to help leverage trade decisions in their league because they know the trends of certain players and they understand that these profile or archetype players, based on if they can make certain thresholds, are most likely going to be hits or misses. And it's especially helpful for you as you are navigating the rest of the season. So there's a lot of great uses of the data analysis tool. Make sure you guys are checking that out on Player Profiler. So back to the Purdy or Kyler question. Ooh, come on. Is it loading? Okay, Purdy or Kyler. I have Purdy at 12, Kyler at 13 right now. I view it as a coin flip. Billy is going to have to load me with one of the coin flipping sounds and the ring, everything. This is a very close one. But let's see if we can get a tiebreaker between Purdy and Murray, Tampa Bay versus Houston. Tampa Bay and Houston. The Cardinals-Texans game is a 48.5 over-under with the Texans favored by 5. That is a big deal because it's the highest over-under on the week, higher than the Chicago Bears-Detroit Lions game. Whereas Tampa Bay, San Francisco, 41.5 and San Francisco is favored by 12. So I think I want the team environment where the Cardinals are going to try to play catch up. This is a higher scoring game by a lot. And so I think I'm going to lean the Kyler over Purdy. And so I think that that's worth making that switch here right now. Murray moved to 12, Purdy to 13. Jose Cicero, thanks for tuning in. Considering I have the Browns D, which is a good defense, do I trade Lamar and the Cowboys defense for Jalen Hurts? If you can get Jalen Hurts, I think this is the move, right? As much as we like Lamar and his upside, we've seen pathways for failure both proximally over the last 3 weeks, but also long term. Right? As I mentioned, we haven't seen number 1 overall weeks, and maybe he's just due. But Jalen Hurts is consistently a top 5, top 6 quarterback every single week, and so especially given his upside potential, Jalen Hurts is the play, even doing some defense special team swapping. All right, Recoil MC. Yo, I need one. Gus Edwards, Javonte, or Pacheco. Ooh, we got some running backs in full PPR. Yeah, the rankings are taking a little bit to load. I'm going to see if I can close some tabs, and that'll make it a little bit faster. But Gus Edwards, I think I have outside my top 20. Yeah, Edwards right now is 32, in fact. Javonte Williams, I'm very bullish on. Where did Williams end up going? Yeah, Javonte Williams I have as a top 5 running back this week in PPR. And Pacheco is 19. So it's a clear tier of Javonte, then Pacheco, then Gus Edwards. Yeah, Javante's been crushing lately. He needs to be finding ways into your lineup. DTR or Kenny Pickett, I'm sick of Pickett. I'm sick of Pickett too, but we need to see it from DTR first. That's how I view it. Randall Ducote, Mark Andrews captain. Thank me later. I love it. I love the call. Thanks, Randall. Thanks, Brad. Appreciate you. Appreciate you, Justin. Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you guys are giving some cheers, setting your lineups well, making sure you're smashing that like and subscribe button if you find this helpful. And of course, tune into the Dominator on Saturday. I do a similar show like this, but with Billy Muzio, and Billy and I are some of the best and most accurate makers in the industry. Billy's been the number 1 draft ranker overall in the entire industry. So Bill got the street cred. I'm currently 25th out of about 200 rankers right now overall season long, which is really exciting. So check out the Dominator, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's one of the best shows that Player Profiler has. It's the best start-sit show in the entire industry. So make sure you guys are checking that out, 9 p.m. Eastern with Billy and myself on this channel. All right, Daniel's asking Puka or Lockett. I think we go back to the well with Puka Nacua, right? Lockett is questionable for this game. Yeah, aka Vinny is asking actually 9 p.m. Eastern, what day? Saturday night. Thanks, aka Vinny. Puka or Lockett. I have Nacua at 17 this week, Lockett at 26. So we're going back to the well. Matthew Stafford expected to play. Stafford has been targeting Puka Nacua more than Cooper Kupp in the games that they have been co-playing. So we're here for that. I'm excited for Puka. Who's droppable? JSN, Mitchell, Drake, London, Deontay. I don't think Deontay's droppable. We haven't seen upside from JSN quite yet. I want to hold on to Keaton Mitchell. And Drake London is a nebulous wide receiver 3. JSN, I think, is the droppable one. It doesn't feel great, but that's how we do it. Mixon or Mitchell, we're going to go with Joe Mixon tonight. Yeah, half PPR. As much as we love the tantalizing upside of Keaton Mitchell, Joe Mixon just gets the steady volume, and we need to see Mitchell earn those snaps before we can confidently put him in the lineup. Could he outscore that? Yes, absolutely, for sure. But this is one of those like 75-25 possible outcomes, like 4-1 odds, 3-1 odds, whatever. Okay. Keaton Mitchell or Rashee Rice. Give me Rashee Rice, the leading target earner for the Kansas City Chiefs, outside of Travis Kelce. Keaton Mitchell or Jahan Dotson. I think this is where you can take your shot on Keaton Mitchell. I think this is about the right threshold. And of course, it's fun to watch the game. So let's go Keaton Mitchell at this. Anthony M from YouTube. It's not loading. Come on. Why do we have sticky keys today? There you go. Anthony M. Billy, and you do great work. Much appreciated. Appreciate you, Anthony. There we go. How much would you give up in Dynasty for St. Brown? A lot. Yeah, don't give away. I'm on Ross St. Brown cheap. Jameson Williams has not been the answer that we wanted. Boyd or Calvin in standard. Wow, this is wild that we are asking these types of things. They're neck and neck in my rankings. They're very, very close. Calvin Ridley, I have at 31. Tyler Boyd, I have at 32 in my standard rankings. And then Calvin or Achane in standard. We're going with Achane. All right, guys, that is it for tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. Make sure you're smashing that subscribe button, hitting the like, sharing it out. Best of luck in Thursday Night Football for week number 11. Until next time, good luck in your start-sit decisions, everybody.
Hey, I want to take a moment to thank you for tuning in. It's important to me that all of our media be free. This is only possible because of you allowing a true independent sports media enterprise to thrive unlike any other in the business. So please subscribe to the All In Package to continue to make all of this possible, to ensure that all of our stats, information, data, content is available to you, especially you, the people that get the site and get the show.